Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgenroth, along with my North Carolina co-host, David Hodges. What's going on, David?
How you doing, guys? Happy to be here.
All right, glad to have you back. And Rick Curti, how are you?
I'm doing well.
You ready to talk some baseball?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's do it. Now, first of all, the 2021 Little League World Series is going to feature the Angels and the Indians, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and the Indians. The fourth annual edition will be on August 22nd. The first game was played on 2027 when Pittsburgh took on St. Louis. This year's game was supposed to be Baltimore versus Boston. So let's talk about it, guys. Mike Trout going to Williamsport. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty sensational. That sounds interesting and should be a lot of fun. And this has been a very unconventional year, to say the least. And why not mix it up even more and have Mike Trout at the Little League World Series site? So sounds like fun. Yeah,
they're planning it out a year in advance. So I think that'll be a treat for the Little Leaguers. All right, David, go ahead.
Oh, well, I definitely agree. Having someone of his caliber, the face of Major League Baseball right now, of course, along with Bryce Harper. Yeah, it's definitely a coup for the Little League World Series and for that town. I can only assume they're not going to be playing in front of the fans, as most pro sports have been all season long, or what seasons that they have been able to play. But it's definitely a coup for that area, and it's definitely going to be interesting to watch.
Well, yeah, that'll be in 2021. Hopefully, there will be some fans involved. That's for sure. So they're planning it out, trying to get a heads up on it for next year. What better way to do it than exactly that, and get people ready for Williamsport. So, with that said, we'll stay on the Mike Trout theme, and Mike Trout's baseball card sold for a record $3.84 million. My goodness, what can you do with that kind of money?
That's really crazy, especially when he's so early in his career and he still have a lot of years to play and he's so young. That's just mind-boggling that his card would be worth that much. I can understand if he was if he was like Albert Pujols in the last couple of years, but man, to be that much, how much is it going to be if he plays 20 years and he's like sets all these records and he goes to I can't even imagine how much it's going to be worth after his career's over and it's going the way it's projected. So that's mind-boggling to me right now.
Yeah, Albert Pujols, good company, great teammates. We'll see if Albert Pujols and Mike Trout can win anything. Go ahead, David.
I agree. That's only $3.8 million right there for a rookie card. Obviously, for a player of this generation, I as someone who's been a memorabilia collector for over 20 years, Babe Ruth signed items don't even go that high. Babe Ruth, depending on what the item is, several items, might just hit 1 million, might go over 1 million for a Mike Trout rookie card, like you guys have said, for it to hit $3.8 million. That right there is just it's phenomenal, and you got to wonder, there's got to be hundreds of those cards out there. Then, how many more people might be thinking, well, maybe I need to sell mine because that right there that's your retirement. Put $2 million to that in a retirement account, and you're set. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and like I said, for it to be a player of this generation, his items can only go up in value.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I have a Babe Ruth Hydrostone statue that I got at Cooperstown, but I can only wish it would be worth that kind of money. But anything with Babe Ruth to me is good enough. So, but yeah, I think that is definitely pretty interesting there. So, all right, let's go on to the San Diego Padres. They beat the Houston Astros 5-3. They have a 7-game winning streak. Now, got to tell you though, what's interesting is that broadcaster Don Orsillo called Slam Diego because there was a record 4 straight games where there was a grand slam, and 5 out of the 6, Fernando Tatis Jr. hit one during a 14-4 rout of Texas and missed a take sign and swung out a 3-0 pitch in the 8th inning, called the old unwritten rule, with a 7-run lead. So I know there's a lot of dynamics. Let's talk about the San Diego Padres, shall we? This team is looking pretty good.
They're very, very exciting right now. I don't know about their uniforms. I think they're hideous, but people seem to like them. But they seem to have a good future together. And Tatis Jr. is right now making to be a big star in Major League Baseball. He's definitely rising up there. And so they look very, very exciting, the Padres, and we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, what do you think about it? Go ahead, David.
Well, I was going to say, it's definitely, the feel-good story of, what has been a modified season, of course, due to COVID and all the other, I should say other, world issues going on. But, of course, it is COVID that's gone worldwide. And, I feel we're looking at the next great superstar. I mean, he's already making waves now. Tatis Jr. I remember his dad, Tatis Sr., when he was playing in the latter part of the 90s and early 2000s.
So what? That's okay. No, that's okay. Continue on.
I was going to say, with him swinging on a 3-0 pitch, it's, again, one of the, breaking one of the unwritten rules of baseball is kind of, player code, because I know the Rangers were not happy about that. He took the pitch and, of course, sent it into the seats. But one thing I've always kind of wondered, it's like, okay, you go out there to play the game. And as someone who's called high school football for many years, I have been fortunate enough to call for a team that has won state championships, been to back-to-back state championships, won one, lost one. And people would actually write into the local paper saying that this team will try to run up the score. But myself and my coach would say, well, you go out there, you play to win the game. And if another team, obviously Texas can't stop him, well, that's really on the fault of Texas pitching. Because, again, you play to win the game.
Yeah, a guy by the name of Herman Edwards echoed those thoughts, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. I had him at the podium in my head. And, yeah, he's like you said, you play to win the game. You don't just play to go out there and play. You don't play to protect people's feelings. Yeah. You play to win the game.
Yeah, this is just extremely silly. I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, the Rangers didn't like it. Well, maybe because they were losing, for one thing. Right. My thing is, these unwritten rules are so ridiculous. I remember Dallas Braden getting mad at Alex Rodriguez for walking back. I think he crossed the pitcher's mound. Yep. And Dallas Braden got upset and said, "You're not supposed to do that." And I'm like, "That's an unwritten rule. You don't." And I'm just like, "Get over yourself." I mean, just grow up. And for people to get angry because he swung at a 3-0 pitch, if they're, usually 99% of the time you take it. And if usually they'll groove a fastball right down the middle. If it looks good, you swing it. I don't care if you're up 1 run or 20 runs. If it looks good, you swing it. So a lot of these other players need to just get over it. And these unwritten rules are so ridiculous. And it's like people are getting their feelings hurt. And it's just, get over it.
Exactly. These guys are professionals. They're making hundreds of thousands into millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And again, to quote the great Herm Edwards, you go out there, you play to win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, a 3-0 pitch. I mean, if it's the pitch you're looking for, the bases are loaded. I got to tell you, I feel the same way. I'm swinging, plain and simple.
I remember when Bo Jackson, when they were pitching out to him, and he swung at the pitch, and it was a fly out, and they caught it, and people were like, "Oh, you're not supposed to do that," I mean, how dare he do that? Why not? Do something different, He was just saying they should have pitched him out even further, but they didn't. They kind of grooved it, and he was there to hit it, and people got upset. It's like, what? He was being smart. He was just trying to throw them off, and he did, and he made the news, and people got upset that he did that. And it's just like, get over it, And I'm very, old-fashioned about stuff, but some of these rules are so silly and so archaic and so childish. It's like when someone's pitching a no-hitter, people say, don't mention the no-hitter because you're going to jinx it. Give me a break.
Yeah, but I will tell you this much, though. Bunting for a no-hitter, I don't know about that one, to be honest with you. That would probably lessen the effect trying to bunt single.
That's Bush League, though. But I'm talking about when someone's pitching a no-hitter and they're talking, and they say, don't mention he's throwing a no-hitter because you're going to jinx it.
Right.
And they'll tell the radio announcers, don't mention it. And it's just like, come on, if it happens to have, now if you're bunting if you're bunting or something like that, that's just Bush League to me.
Right.
That's just like, I can't believe he just did that. I'd rather get a line drive or something like that, but when you bunt it like that.
Yeah, legitimize it for God's sakes.
And he said, that's so Bush League, and I agree with that. That's Bush League.
Yeah, legitimize the hit. Don't cheapen the hit, but I'm with you. But, yeah,
exactly.
Unwritten rules are what they are. I personally don't have a problem with what Tatis Jr. did. I know the manager did, but, he had a 3-0 pitch, and he swung at it anyways. I think you play until the very end. I realize running it up to a certain extent, but, hey, what's done is done. But I think what I find interesting is the San Diego Padres, I don't think have ever pitched a no-hitter in their history. But meanwhile, they broke a Grand Slam record with 4 straight in a row and 5 out of 6. And then the announcer, Don Orsillo, who I think the Red Sox made one big mistake anyways by letting him go. Meanwhile, he trades Boston for the beautiful weather out in San Diego to come up with Slam Diego. I think that's pretty good, don't you? Slam Diego?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's clever. It's marketable. You should get it trademarked and make some shirts out of it. And you got a big business right there. So Slam Diego, it's pretty clever. Why not? So I copyright it and just sell a whole bunch of merchandise with it.
Don't kid yourself. There probably are.
I agree. Rick, as you say, it's something that's marketable. When the fans do get to come back, make that one of the premier items that you're selling, whether, as you mentioned, Rick, it be on hats or shirts or, whatever the case may be, or, maybe foam bats for the kids. And, of course, go with it. It's, a lot of stuff, or, even catchphrases are just, are off the top of the head of these announcers or, the marketing groups that work for these teams. And teams go with it. And, they can make, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple $1 million, off of these names. Names of, whether it be names of players or, as you mentioned, I guess, what's what I'm looking for, little nicknames attached to these teams.
Yeah, I think the San Diego Padres marketing department's already on Slam Diego, so whatever you guys are suggesting, they're way ahead of the curve. Mark my word, Slam Diego will sell a bunch of shirts and hats and whatnot. Believe me, they will. And, hey, more power to the Padres for a team that's never had a no-hitter, let alone a perfect game. They certainly, a Grand Slam, 4 Grand Slams in a row isn't the easiest thing to go out there as well, so... Hey, more power to it. I think the San Diego Padres could sneak up on a lot of teams. You got Fernando Tatis Jr. Don't forget you have Eric Hosmer there. And by the way, Manny Machado does play there too. So they've got a pretty good lineup there, definitely. So let's move on from the Padres to a team that once played the New York Yankees in the World Series when they had Tony Gwynn. And that is the Yankees. Aaron Judge expects to come off the IL on Tuesday. Now, we had Kale Lombardi on Thursday, and he said he's a high school coach out in Tampa and thought that the Yankees were made out of glass. I thought it was a pretty interesting line because of all the injuries. I thought it was really clever by KR. But at any rate, the Yankees are currently sitting in second place behind Tampa Bay. They're 16-9. They had this week's Subway Series against the Mets was postponed because of COVID-19. And Tampa's 19-10 game back. So, how much of a difference is Judge going to make? I mean, can the Yankees get back in first place? Well, the fact that they have a MASH unit out there. I used to like watching MASH myself, but the Yankees lineup resembles at least that.
Yeah, it's I think they are made of glass, and Judge has been hurt. Stanton, forget it. I mean, the man's a walking, Band-Aid. I mean, he's hurt all the time, and it doesn't help that they strike out so much. It doesn't help that they hit for a low average. They're just home runs. They remind me so much of Dave Kingman. It's either hit or miss, or Rob Deere. Or Rob Deere hit at 189, he had like 30 home runs. Or 133 batting average, I think he had. Some crazy average he had. So, I mean, he'll help, but the problem is he going to stay healthy? Because
right.
He's been hit by the injured bug a lot. And when he's out there, like I said, they're great players, but they just strike out way too much for me. And I don't want to see someone that just hits home runs. I want to see average, doubles, singles, stuff like that. Not someone that hits a 500-foot home run every time. So the question is, can Judge stay healthy? And if he can't stay healthy, they're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, Rob Deere was a great example of one of those all or nothing type of guys, that's for sure. Go ahead, David.
It can only, of course, it's only going to help the team. I can only assume, a player of this caliber, he's going to have the attention in the locker room. So it's definitely going to be a morale booster all around for the ball club. To have him back, to have that power in the lineup, the confidence is definitely going to grow for the boys in the pinstripes. So, yeah, him coming back is nothing but phenomenal for the Yankees. It's what they need. I mean, as you mentioned, they're only a game back, but they definitely got to. If he can stay healthy, they're definitely going to have their eyes on first place. As of course all teams do. But, some teams are just so much more equipped than others.
Although I got to tell you, I give Aaron Boone a lot of credit for trying to keep it together. I really do. He's done one of his best managerial jobs. Then again, nowadays, to have to manage in the majors with COVID-19, you're dealing with an awful lot of headaches. I mean, I deal with it all the time with Don Mattingly. Now, Aaron Boone, I think, has done a really good job so far. So, and yet the Yankees are still my pick to win it all. So they still have time. I mean, we're only, hard to believe, not even halfway into the season with all those zillions of postponements that you have, for sure. But, it'll be interesting. Let's not forget, a week from tonight, we'll be broadcasting. We have the Major League Baseball trade deadline. So don't be surprised that we have a myriad of moves that we'll be talking about that night. So, but, to me, Aaron Boone has done one heck of a job out there, that's for sure.
And to be in that New York market, having to put up with that New York media, or as many media as, can cram into a room that, will be allowed for social distancing or however Major League Baseball is allowing media to handle getting their stories in, of course, during COVID-19. But again, to be in that market and that, vicious, media empire that is New York City, so as you said, kudos to Aaron Boone for the way he's handled it.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only that, think about it. At least the one thing Aaron Boone gets a break, actually, from all those New York writers. At least they're on Zoom calls, so it doesn't make any difference. So all he has to do is talk into a camera and talk to 9 million of them. I mean, I deal with it firsthand, but nevertheless, the Yankees, I think they can easily get it back together. And the fact that they're just hanging in there with all the problems will make them a stronger team as we approach the stretch run. With that said, we'll go on to my hometown team, the Detroit Tigers, who took 2 of 3 from the Cleveland Indians to avoid a losing streak that would have been 23 straight to the Indians. The Tigers have lost all 3 games. They would have tied the Kansas City Royals, who are losing 23 to the Baltimore Orioles. How relieved do you think the Detroit Tigers are to not have to have such a dubious streak?
I think they're very relieved. I think that's one of those records you don't want to break or tie. It's just some teams had your number on you, and it's just hard to beat them. I've seen first place teams struggle against teams that were below 500. That's just how it is sometimes. Or you see a great player. I remember Terry Pendleton. I remember he always had fits with Ken Hill and he'd always bat right-handed because his numbers were so atrocious against Kent Hill. Something to mix it up. And just some players or some teams, they just have your number, and the Detroit Tigers have just been befuddled by them. So I know they're relieved to get that monkey off the back, and we'll see if they can turn it. Maybe they can turn it around. They can win like 20 in a row against them. Yeah,
well, if they do, they'll have to do it over another season because there isn't much left of this one. That's for sure. I think they played each other 6 times.
Yeah, again, it's only going to definitely be a morale booster, obviously. To get a game or a couple of games against a team. Rick, as you mentioned, that just seems to, over the years, no matter what you do, a team that just has your number. Whether you're facing a team, say like had different managers in the past, different players, you have problems with them now, right? And up to now, where you have new managers, new players. You got to face, but you still have that thorn in your side. Yeah, it's only going to, as judged to the Yankee locker room, a morale booster. That can only be a morale booster for the Tigers.
All right, well, let me talk about the Zoom call I had with Don Mattingly, and what we're going to do. Then we have one more topic that we're going to talk about, and one of the most interesting topics you'll ever talk about, and that's this. I asked Don Mattingly on the call today about the 3-batter minimum. And he said, he factors in change. There's no sense getting upset about it because you have to deal with it. You just slide guys into pockets. You think that a hitter before you have to have a different way to strategize the move. So what are your thoughts about the 3-batter rule? I mean, sometimes the guy's not doing well. You're stuck with him for 3 hitters. And, we all realize many of the rules are one and done, but this one's here permanently. But the 3-batter rule?
It's, like I said, I love Don Mattingly because he's so optimistic. He's a terrific manager. I think he's a very underrated manager. I've always been a massive fan of Don Mattingly as a player and as a manager. You just got to deal with it. Am I a big fan of it? Not really. But it's just something you got to get used to, just like universal DH. I hate the DH. I will always hate the DH, but it looks like they're going to have it in both leagues. So this 3-batter minimum, it's just something you just got to get used to. But personally, do I like it? Not really.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Rick here. Yeah, it's just as baseball purists, it's definitely something that people are they're not going to be happy with. But as Rick said, if it's something that's instituted by Major League Baseball, you're just going to have to deal with it, no matter what, and just suffer along with it. Of course, changes are made in every league and every sport during the off season, and every year, and people they're going to say, well, people are going to hate this, but they'll like this. So it's definitely going to be something that's going to be counterbalanced, and but yeah. I'm not a fan of it myself either.
Yeah, I mean, there was a part of me that didn't mind it, only going back to the days when we were talking about 70s and 80s where relievers were expected to go 1 or 2 innings anyhow. But then you have the strategy that's taken out because you have one guy pitching to the left-hander trying to get a left-hander, and about matchups. But the reality is they do have the 3-batter minimum. Now, if you have a guy that, like, for example, where it really bothered me over the weekend, in the Tigers series, actually against Cleveland yesterday, they have Joe Jimenez, who's really struggling anyways, and he gives up 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and if you're a Detroit Tiger fan, you're, not this again, but you're stuck with him for 3, and then you bring on another guy. But that's, and of course, if a guy doesn't have it, he doesn't have it, but yet you're stuck with it regardless of whether you like it or not. So, yeah, I don't like it. I understand why they did it, and I'll go back to what they say back in the 70s and 80s when that was the norm. But in today's norm, MLB 2020, it's something we have to live with and get used to, and the managers all have to deal with it. So it's not like there's not a level playing field for sure. So yeah, I guess it's one you tolerate, but I still think should be the norm that every pitcher should be able to pitch to a few hitters regardless. It's just managers have to, as if their job wasn't even more difficult, they just have to make the best of it, and that's what Don Mattingly does. Hey, this is what the rule is. No debating it, but don't think there's in a little bit of Maalox circulating amongst them. So from Maalox to a lottery ticket, okay. Today I had my wife Candy go out there and get a lottery ticket for me, and I'll tell you why. Yesterday we had 6 games that ended 5-4. Now let me go over the games. The Pittsburgh Pirates beat Milwaukee 5-4. Baltimore beat Boston 5-4. Tampa Bay over Toronto 5-4. Minnesota 5. Kansas City 4. Oakland 5. The Angels 4. Even though it went 10 innings, doesn't matter. And Philadelphia defeats Atlanta 5-4. Now, if you're playing the lottery, and I probably might be cursing myself about the unwritten rule, just kidding with you, okay? 6 games were decided by a 5-4 score. So therefore, I went and got and for all you folks that are reading into this broadcast, okay, I'm sure you can figure out what combination I went with. So what are your thoughts about 6 games being decided by the same score?
It's just one of those bizarre things. It just, some weird things always happen like that. It's just, it is what it is. This has not been a very normal year, 2020. So why not have a 5-4 all around? I mean, it's just so many weird things going on there. Those are just things that happen.
Yeah, well, 5-4 has been a common score, Rick.
Just weird things that you can't explain.
Yeah, but 5-4 has been a common score in baseball for years. It's just nobody ever thought you'd have a half a dozen of them in one day.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those. Like I said, it's been a weird year, and have a couple games 5-4, but have all those 5-4. It's just strange thing that you just can't explain. So it kind of sums up 2020.
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's it's just one of those crazy things that that happens in life. The stars aligned, and it's just again one of those things. It just happened, and of course you're not gonna say, well, it's one of those things you accept, but again, obviously, like I say, Scott, if you want to, you think I might be a sign to go out and buy a lottery ticket. Well, I mean, maybe I'll go out and buy a $5 4 ticket, or I guess a $4 or $5 scratch off. And I'm not one that does that, but it could be people's lucky numbers, 5 and or 4. But yeah, it's just it's a head scratcher. Just you look at it in the paper, or you're watching it, on the late night news, and and you see, and it just pops up 5-4, 5-4, 5-4, and so on, and it's just one of those things where you just scratch your head and chuckle and say, well, when will we ever see that again?
Well, that's true. So tell me, how many of us don't have superstitious qualities? Really? Are you guys superstitious?
I'm not very superstitious, I remember Wade Boggs eating chicken before a game. I'm not like that. Or people wearing their favorite lucky socks. Maybe when I was younger I was, but now as I've gotten older, no, I'm not into I don't avoid ladders, or if I see black cats, I don't run the other way, or I don't have a lucky horseshoe or 4-leaf clover in my pocket. So I'm not very superstitious at all. I think it's more in your head. Like when something bad happens, and you expect bad to happen, it's going to happen. So that's just my theory, but I'm not superstitious.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not really superstitious either. I mean, of course, it's going to be more prevalent in pro sports. I know, going back to the Yankees, I believe Joe DiMaggio would keep a penny in his shoe. It wasn't a couple of years ago. Jason Giambi was either not shaving or wearing a certain kind of underwear until he broke out of a slump, which, obviously, not shaving, because I didn't think the Yankees allowed long hair or facial hair in there, or, at least to the players on the field. Because I know when Johnny Damon made the jump from Boston to the Yankees, he had to cut his hair and shave his beard. But yeah, of course, I'm not superstitious myself. I got my teams. I'm a diehard soccer fan. My Seattle Sounders thumped the rival Portland Timbers in Portland last night. I was already in bed by the time the game came on, because of course, it was being played on the West Coast, but usually I like to just kind of put on, a Seattle Sounder hat. But it's definitely going to be more prevalence. It adds a little quirk, to pro sports. I mean, they did how Nomar Garciaparra, every single time he took a pitch, he would have to tighten his batting gloves. And I mean, I'm sure you could YouTube it. Just watch his routine of either like hitting the palm of his hand on his forearm, then his knuckles, back to his palm, then the knuckles again. And then he would bring his right arm under and actually tap his left bicep. And I know actually Major League Baseball tried to crack down on this because of players taking so long in the batter's box, and pitchers would be waiting for them. And I never got it. I mean, it could be fun for the fans, but but in a way, it's like, come on, play the game. And of course, Major League Baseball, they tried to speed the game up in past years. New rules or removal of old rules, but that's just that's just one of the quirks.
Well, let me tell you, I've worked in sales for a lot of years, and I kid you not, I am superstitious. I won't get into some of the things I've ever done. Well, for those that want to know what I used to do when I was in sales, drop me an email. I'll give you the email address in a few minutes. I'll be more than happy to maybe let a couple of them out, but I'm not doing it on the air. But I'll tell you one of the more interesting superstitions that I saw many, many years ago, being in the United States Football League, being covering the Michigan Panthers. A kicker by the name of Nova Boyovich used to go ahead and have garlic in his sock and kick field goals. So that was a very common superstition. You imagine garlic in your sock kicking field goals?
Wow.
And he was good. So, I mean, who's going to sit there and blame the guy for doing it? But garlic in your sock? So,
was this a full clove of garlic or just like one little piece?
Oh, no, knowing him, I don't know whether it was garlic salt or garlic in his salt, but whether it was garlic salt or regular garlic, but whatever he did, more power to him.
And these players, they're really into it. I mean, they really do believe that this will work. I remember Wade Boss constantly, like, I have to eat chicken before a game because
I remember that.
If I don't do that, I'm not going to do very well. And it was just like, I would just like chuckle, like, these are grown men and they're, it's just, but hey, whatever works for you, hey, whatever floats your boat. But, I'm lucky that I've really never been superstitious. It's just, I get a chuckle out of it. Like, whatever works for you.
Yeah, well, like I said, I have no problem admitting I'm superstitious. Okay, I really don't. Sometimes whatever makes you feel good, if you need a moral boost from some way, you might as well go out there and get it however you're going to do it. So, I don't know. Nova Boyovich, and by the way, the Michigan Panthers did win a USFL championship back in the day. So, and we all know kickers definitely are known for being notoriously superstitious. So, what the heck?
Yeah, of course they have.
Yeah, but, a lot of players do, and salespeople, you name it. Nothing wrong against you superstitious people. Whatever makes you feel good, as they all say. So, meanwhile, a great broadcast tonight. I know we've definitely covered a lot of things. So with that said, okay, why don't we go ahead and let David Hodges lead off and let everybody know how they can get a hold of him.
Well, thank you, Scott. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports. I'm also on Facebook at Dave Davinho Hodges. Davinho spelled Davinho. As I mentioned, I'm a diehard soccer fan, and always been a fan of the Brazilians, and so I just figured I'd give myself a Brazilian-sounding name. So that's how Davinho was born. But those are my two. You can reach me. Those are my two accounts on social media. I also have a small soccer podcast over on Blog Talk Radio. I haven't done a show in quite a while. I try to have a guest whenever I can, but quickest way to get a hold of me is, again, at Twitter at Dave Talk Sports, and on Facebook at Dave Davinho Hodges, Hodges.
All right, Rick, you know the drill.
My website, you can contact me on there. It's www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, and I'm also at Charlotte Bats Baseball on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti. You can contact me on any of those social media websites.
And, of course, Rick Curti is a social media consultant here for the South Florida Tribune. With that said, you're listening to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth, along with my Monday night co-host, David Hodges, and Rick Curti. Rick Curti bounces all over the network here, WSAN network, doing different shows wherever we need him. So he's a MVP in every sense of the word. With that said, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. If I went too fast, which everybody tells me I do, I'll slow it down just a tad. You can find this broadcast on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. In terms of getting a hold of us, you can find us on Twitter at the @ Tribune South, Facebook South Florida Tribune. Like that page, you get updates. Instagram South Florida Tribune. We have a YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune, for which we're going to start seeing more and more broadcasts on the YouTube channel. On Friday night, Xavier McKnight and I did the Real and the Rare, and I found it very enjoyable. So we're going to get more of our broadcasts in the future being more visual as well as audio. Also, our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can find all of our content for our media distribution partners or columnists, as well as these broadcasts will appear on southfloridatribune.com. You can email me at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to know what I'm superstitious about, that's one way to do it. And last but not least, LinkedIn, that's how I came across Rick Curti and a lot of other people. Dave Hodges, I had the great pleasure of meeting a year ago when we were out in North Carolina over at the NSMA awards banquet, and that's been a great time. I look forward to returning there. So on LinkedIn, my name is Scott Morganroth, and you can connect with me there. So guys, once again, did a really, really super job as always, and we're going to go out there and have our August 31st is a trade deadline, so there's no reason to think we're going to have a lot of information next week, and as we always do. So any closing thoughts for the two of you?
No, just another great show. I love doing this show with you guys, and just be safe out there with COVID. Wear masks, wash your hands, and please keep distance. And please don't go to any crazy places where there's a lot of people and be in big crowds, please.
Yeah, I
agree. Great show tonight, guys. Always a pleasure. I look forward to it every single Monday night. Again, as I'll echo what Rick said, just everybody stay safe and wash those hands, wear a mask, and just keep your eyes glued to sports. And we got many, many, many great shows coming up in the future.
Yeah, not only that, Rick Curti and David Hodges will be appearing on periodically on the Sports Exchange as well. The guys do a really good job. Enjoy having both of them. So on behalf of Dave Hodges and Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morganroth. Thank you for joining us on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we'll do it again next week. Good night, everybody.